are you people? What do you want from me?
We want the numbers, Mason. That's all we've ever wanted.
Keep hearing the numbers.
It's a broadcast, Mason. The broadcast. Mason, for the last time, where is the number station?
The numbers? What are they saying?
0, 0, 1, 3, 5.
That's all we've ever wanted.
Whew. I don't know about you guys, but I just had a terrible nightmare. Something about numbers and Riot Games. I don't know. Anyway. Hey guys, Pope Sano here, and welcome to my ultimate beginner's guide to jungle tracking. First, we have to identify what jungle tracking is. Distilled down to its core, jungle tracking is the ability to acquire information given to you in-game in order to determine where the enemy jungler is and where they're going. This is a skill used by many high elo players, and it is essential to understand jungle tracking because the jungle game is all about macro play. Meaning, as I've stated in previous jungle videos, jungle is fundamentally different than other roles because you're not in direct combat with your opponent unless you want to be. Rather, because the junglers go all over the map, they can be anywhere at any given time. Therefore, it is vital that we are able to determine where our opponent is based on the information that you always have freely available to you in-game. In this video, I'm going to cover all the basics of jungle tracking to get you well on your way prepared for Season 14 or even to end Season 13 and achieve those rank goals, because you're going to be gapping the enemy jungler. As always, if you enjoy this type of content and you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you liked and subbed. It helps me grow as a YouTuber, and I would love to make this my part-time job one day, just making these jungle guides. The first tip is this: tracking jungle CS. Really, the first step is to track enemy minion count. And the reason why this is so vital is because at the end of the day, the numbers do not lie. Look, do you ever feel like this guy?
What do you want from me?
We want the numbers, Mason.
If you're able to determine what the enemy jungler has done based on their minion count when they show up on the map, then it gives you a picture of what they have done and therefore what they will do based on that information. Similarly, you can know if a jungle is level 3 or level 4 without even looking at them, because at the beginning of the game, you can use their CS count. Let's pause here for a moment. Both Rumble and I, playing in Master Elo, are about to show top and bot lane respectively. How much CS do both of us have? If you said 12, you're correct. Each camp gives 4 CS, and being that both of us did 3, that means we'll have 12. Meaning, at this Elo, we both realize that the opposite jungler has shown. We check, we see that we have 12 CS each, and we know therefore that our blue sides of the map are both up. You can see how this plays out in high elo. Both junglers react to this information, and both invade the opposite side. See, if only one jungler responded to the map with the information that we're given, then the other one that does not respond instantly falls behind. It is vital, therefore, to be using this map information for your benefit. And I promise in elos below probably diamond, you can exploit enemy junglers like this to crazy amounts to find huge advantages without too much effort. It just requires paying attention, really. And thankfully it gets even easier in some cases. In the example I just showed you, it wasn't only the fact that Rumble had 12 CS that told me he didn't do his blue buff yet. Well, first of all, he didn't even have a blue buff on him. This is why it's also important to be using your camera and actually looking, not just pressing tab. You see, junglers autopiloting is worse than any other role. That's because you need to be constantly evaluating the information being given to you on the map. You can so easily fall behind in tempo if you're not paying attention. For example, if an enemy jungler clears from bottom to topside, and then you see them topside with 24 or 28 CS, you know that they've full cleared. If they're at the 28 CS threshold, you know that they've full cleared and taken Scuttle Crab. What that tells you is that they're likely going to head towards the bot side camps once again, as those will spawn around 420. The archetype of each jungle champion in this context simply refers to the overall strengths and weaknesses of each jungle champion as it pertains to what their overall goals and objectives are throughout the lane phase. For example, there are a few categories that I've discussed in the past in order to help people understand how champions fit into each category. Let me go over them once again quickly because it's immensely helpful when we're trying to learn how to track properly. First, we have our full clear style champions. Champions like Lilia, Udyr, Hecarim, Briar, and Shyvana all fall into this category for their strong ability to clear quickly and healthily. In most cases, these champions gain advantages through power farming and scaling into their core items that way. Next, there's the ganking style champions. Lee Sin, Rek'Sai, Elise, and Vi all fall into this category for their ability to easily set up ganks and skirmishes after their level 3 point. Other champions like Jarvan even can do this at level 2. Most of these champions don't clear as quickly as full clearers and need to find advantages in other ways, typically through ganking, or they risk falling behind. The third category is invaders. Champions like Shaco, Kha'Zix, Kindred, and Graves. They can all be classified as invaders, although Graves can definitely flex in between. However, the main idea here is that all these champions have something particular about them which allows them to be extremely strong early duelists. For example, Shaco has Deceive and Ignite, while Kindred has her marks that she can build up and also a kit that is perfect for fighting and getting over walls, similar to Graves. You see, if we can identify what our champion is and what our opponent is, we can correctly begin to understand what their preferred start would be, and then do our best through tracking to make sure that we don't let that happen. Imagine you're playing Jarvan versus Sylas, as we can see here. In this situation, you can begin as the Jarvan to track through your intuition alone because you know that Sylas needs to gank early. He's far too weak of a jungler in the clearing department, and so he's gonna gank because he will simply fall behind full clearing. Meaning, it's up to you to identify what lanes might be the target for Sylas. This is identified both in lane matchups, but also the lane states themselves. Specifically, we can see as Jarvan is clearing, he doesn't know exactly which side Sylas started on. However, he still leaves some pings where he thinks that Sylas started because he's certain that a gank is coming early. This is something you need to adopt in your games in order to prevent your laners from dying. Now, you can't mind control them and they're still going to die to obvious ganks. However, if you can know what Sylas wants to do, then you can make your laners safer through communication. In fact, I promise if you start to do this type of thing, you will already be jungle tracking. But this is why jungle is a very difficult role. You need to understand the nuances of each champion, their strengths and weaknesses, in order to identify their win con and then play against it. Let me restart this clip from a master tier game in order to explain my point about wave states and map states. Really, this is the last part of what I want to discuss in this beginner guide. And this is the core of jungling because we need to be all about adapting to our current situations. And so ultimately, we acquire that skill through map state information. Things like wave states, matchups, resource management, and objectives are a few ways in which we can understand this. Let's pause for a moment. If you're playing Kha'Zix in this situation, what do you know about each of these 4 categories based on the game states so far? The objectives category is easy. It's too early in the game for Dragon or Rift Herald to be spawned, and so we're not really concerned about that. Resources is a little trickier. Here, Kha'Zix is relatively healthy, but we know that Zac was full HP. Likewise, Zac has a full level up on Kha'Zix right now. If we look towards the mid lane, we can see that Tristana is basically full HP, whereas Jace has 0 mana. The matchup indicates to us that Zac, who is a full clearing jungler, is probably going back towards his top side now that he's full cleared again. We probably don't want to run into him because he's a level up, although if we have Tristana, it can work. Finally, the mid lane wave state certainly tells us that we could look for an invade here, which is why the master tier Kha'Zix can put all of this together and determine that even if he runs into Zac, he's probably pretty safe to invade. That does it for my beginner's guide to jungle tracking. I hope you learned something new, and if you enjoyed this type of content, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me grow as a relatively new channel. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Pope out.